Okay, we're continuing here with the reading from Michelle. We left off at the Queen of Cups, and again, just to reiterate, it seems like you're letting those more external desires be put to rest in a way. You're not trying as hard as you were before to enjoy um, yourself, people around you. You're enjoying things as they come and finding your real um, peace and enjoyment with that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we hit art or temperance, and the surrounding cards are sort of canceled out because they're earth and air. But art, I see art sort of as continuing on the level of the Hermit and the Aeon over here. This sort of balancing out period that results from this, that by taking a retreat, taking a back seat in a way, you are giving yourself the opportunity to get other affairs in order that have been on the back burner, perhaps. You feel more equilibrated and more in balance. And perhaps part of this is getting rid of the things that you no longer need. You know, it's again, it's sort of a house cleaning card, and I get the sense that that's part of this here is that you're the Aeon is always about self-review and review of the situation as a whole and reevaluating it more impartially so that you can eliminate what is no longer necessary from it. And that's what I see you doing in temperance here, or art. Sort of putting together the ingredients necessary to go somewhere different in your life. So moving from her, him, both technically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. And this is what gives you the idea with the Princess of Wands. This, this makes you again sort of anxious to get out and explore and do something different, perhaps even something a little reckless. To initiate a new path of self-discovery or to try out a new environment. I really see this sort of dissatisfaction that you had in the beginning as being a big catalyst for getting you to really reevaluate that situation and just wanting to try something different, because perhaps now you feel more confident in your abilities now that you've taken time to reevaluate yourself and what you're capable of and your relationship to other people. And I think that part of this is a desire, perhaps, to help people. You know, the Princess of Cups, excuse me, is a very helpful and caring person, and you know, I think part of that influence is relevant here. Is wanting to you want to get out and do work that is going to be helpful for others, but also for yourself, and allowing yourself to remain happy. Because you clearly like being with people and you like working with and for people, but it's a matter of their response back to you. You want to feel more. I get the sense that reciprocation is the issue here, and you're looking for more reciprocation. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, and then we hit the Hermit. But this effort seems a bit, well, on one hand, it's very, it is very spiritual. You have two elements of spirit on the sides of it. Granted, one of them is more airy and the other is more fiery, but they both constitute the element of spirit. And you have the Hermit in the middle. So on one hand, it seems that you don't quite, that part of you remains sort of isolated in this, but isolated with more insight into that state. It's sort of, you don't see it as a bad thing in a way. It's much more about reflection and getting things straight. I feel there's a lot of analysis in all of those cards, and a lot of grappling with major issues in life, themes that you have here. And, you know, based on the reading you did for me, that I'm all about contemplation and reevaluation. So this, I think this is a really wonderful moment for you, to not take this as loneliness or anything like that, but to see it as revision and self-growth before anything else, so that by doing that you can focus on what really matters to you and what your real goals are. There's definitely an element of goal setting here and focus that that is pertinent to the Hermit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we hit the Five of Cups again. Because again, that you end up letting yourself sort of remain frustrated in that. I think it's difficult for you to balance out the notion of hermitage for the sake of self-progress and work, and the alternative of hermitage for the isolating part and the loneliness part. You know, and loneliness and hermitage is totally an issue. I mean, this is why monastic communities, I think, were invented, because even though technically you are in isolation from the world and you're not necessarily talking to people that much because of the vow of silence, you're still with other people, and there's camaraderie there, and I think you don't feel like you have that right now. And so that frustrates whatever goals you have for spiritual development. The enjoyment of them is less than you thought you would get. It seems, but at the same time, it seems like the happiest you are is here with the Queen of Cups and her Nine of Cups, by not trying so hard that to engage yourself with others, and letting them come to you, and exploring your more intuitive sides. That seems to bring you more real happiness. And so I would encourage you to continue to reflect on that and note that in your life, and to continue trying to balance it all out with temperance or art. That seems like another thing that could use a little bit more oomph here. Maybe tempering the need for people with the need for isolation, and finding a more middle ground so that you're not exhausting yourself in concern over your connections with people, but that you're still obviously willing to relate to them, to help them, to communicate with them, obviously. I'm not advocating that you become a nun, obviously, but I think that in general is sort of the best route for you to make you feel most comfortable with the situation. So now if we pair from end to end, we have, if I could pick it up and use motor skills, the Two of Cups and the Ten of Cups. So going back to the beginning of the situation, you have very strong connection with people around you. You have a strong desire to connect to people in long-lasting ways, or to a specific person in general. this is less of a relevant thing, but in the background of this, excuse me, either you're concerned about starting a new financial endeavor. Again, this might have to do with changing jobs or your work setting. There are concerns over having to start something over, but they're not really, they're not a huge influence. They're sort of just in the background, things that you're preparing to do. The Prince of Discs and the Princess of Wands, I think part of you is preparing to do that because, again, you're itching to get out of a task setting in which you feel sort of bored, I think. It seems sort of slow, and the Princess of Wands definitely is not a fan of that sort of tedium. And even though it's a kind of work that is good for you, it's not all that enjoyable. The Five of Cups and the Princess of Cups, because I think you being a very sensitive and deep person, you have a lot of deeper desires that you want to see fulfilled, and this job doesn't cater to those at all. It's much more mundane, and you have ideas and things that you want to do that are much more related to the intuitive arts or mysticism and that sort of thing. There's a deepness to your character that you want to explore that your everyday life doesn't allow you necessarily to do. The Nine of Wands and the Eight of Wands. Okay. Again, this is sort of a tug of war between patience and really wanting to just get out there and do something different. There's a real tug of war between those two energies, and part of you knows that you really need to just be patient and wait for something to open up, or you need to just withstand this and deal with the present situation as it is. And then on the other hand, you are just really itching to get out, and you again want things to move very quickly, but they're not. The Three of Discs and the Priestess. Again, this speaks to the work that you would rather be doing, I think, and the work that you are doing on the side. More intuitive stuff, reading tarot and whatnot, and doing good work with that. You've already done work there, and that is where you would like to continue doing work. The Queen of Wands and the Moon. But I think because that doesn't seem rational, and because that seems to be less certain, you're doubting yourself there in some aspect. It's not a huge doubt, because I think you trust your intuition, what it's telling you. But at the same time, I totally lost my train of thought. But basically, there's a slight feeling of confusion and being lost and unsure of that intuitive direction. But there's this. The Ace of Swords and the Empress speaks to an insight for the future, though, that you realize that it's something that you can continue to develop and do, perhaps on the side, over a long period of time, that it doesn't necessarily have to go someplace now. I have 40 seconds. I'm going to try to clean this up. I probably won't. Probably will have to go on to part 3. And we'll do the Celtic cross there, too. The Hermit and Art. This, again, speaks to balance within the self, and I think developing more of a sense of patience and using reflection and isolation to develop your goals. Okay, part 3 coming right up.